Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time, a Wave original presented by Perplexity. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars, I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. It is Foxworth Thursday because it's really hard to tape a Friday show on Thursday when the draft is Thursday night. Domonique Foxworth, what's going on?
I agree with you. I'm happy to be here. Ain't nothing going on. However, if there is a show that can be taped at any time and still be good, I believe it's us talking on Fridays. Because, we get to the sports, we don't get to the sports. It's always fun now.
Nah, but the problem is, man, if they came on Friday and we wasn't talking about it, then they looking at me crazy. You know what I'm saying? Because, I don't know if there's anything left for me and you to talk about with Shedeur Sanders, but that's going to be the story of the draft. And if he's still sitting around wherever it is that he's sitting around, that's people gonna want to talk about that. They can go to the Domonique Foxworth show on Friday morning where that will be discussed, but we don't operate on that schedule.
Yeah, I'm gonna be up late that night and then early the next morning because I have to find out where Shedeur goes. And you're right. You don't want the people disappointed when they show up expecting you to talk about something. That's the basketball right now is making it real tough. Making it real tough. Because you know what I'm not going to be able to do is talk about the West Coast game on the Friday morning show.
Man, these West Coast games are kicking my black ass. Good gracious. I was so glad that I could tell early on on Tuesday night what was going to happen in that Minnesota-LA game. Yeah. I just went ahead and checked out on that one. I saw a good bit of Kawhi Leonard doing damage to the Nuggets, but I could not do the whole thing. I do not. And what make it worse is maybe I need to just start taking early naps because the East ain't hitting all.
That's it.
Bupkis.
That's the thing that's killing me is the East ain't hitting on nothing. These early OKC games is put that late. Let me check out at the end of the first quarter. Put that one at 10 o'clock. That ain't far enough west. We need to get all these good teams on the East Coast. Because, yeah, you're right. There's no East Coast games even the teams that are good. I don't have no ton of interest in watching Cavs Heat.
Knicks Pistons is doing it for me, though.
Yeah,
I admit that was going to turn out to be a thing because I think it's going to get real rough and tumble. Once they take that back to Detroit. And it is very interesting that every time the Pistons have a team that's good, they a little bit rumble tumble out here.
Yeah, for the times, they a lot of bit rough and tumble. Measured for where we are in basketball. Not too many people play basketball the way they do. And I like it. I know that I'm supposed to be no, it's an ugly, aggressive form of basketball, but I know the ethical nature of the way that Cunningham plays is something that people appreciate. But in watching these last games, I guess I'm just old. Because the foul baiting is starting to drive me crazy, man.
Well, with Jalen Brunson.
It's not just him, though. Jalen Brunson is getting a lot of attention, but it's all of them. And I've never been the one to complain about players complaining. I just don't stop trying to trick us, man. Wasn't there a time when Adam Silver said we was gonna penalize people for tricking us?
I do recall. I will say this, though. When Jalen Brunson laid on the ground and did 6 for the 6 fouls, when he ran that insurance fraud, he lost a lot of respect from your boy in that moment. Teacher, is you trying to be Chris Paul, right? Is that what you're going to see? Because you see what the basketball guys done to Chris Paul. They done got his ass hurt every time he was that close to glory. Every single time he been there. You ain't never going to get to glory acting that way, young man.
I understand that the point is to win, and you want to create every single edge possible.
I don't want to hear that.
But I don't want to hear that. There's some norms that need to be upheld.
Yeah. The point is to win. Everybody trying to win. Ain't everybody being a sucker. The idea, this is a fundamental thing when I work with Pablo, that we had a disagreement with that honestly kind of colored the way I looked at everything else. The idea that all that matters is if you're allowed to do it.
Yeah.
No. That is such an unprincipled trying to get over sort of outlook where it's nah, man, we got to have something that we gonna stand on at some point. And if your whole game is just out here trying to trick people that you know are overworked. You know what I'm saying? like what they basically out this motherfucker doing is somebody start acting up in the store to get the attention of the dude at the register, and then you steal.
It is you're supposed to be working together to some degree, especially with the star players. I want to be able to trust you, man. The refs can't cover it all. We can't see everything. I want you, if your next snapback, I want to know that you got slapped in the face. Don't make me look like an asshole. Why you make me look dumb?
Well, also, I'm waiting for the one guy, because I ain't gonna lie. I would feel like you did that super head snapback on me one time, and I didn't really do it to you. And the refs got to stop falling for that, because that don't really happen, right? Like, think about how many times you see somebody head snap back like that, and it was actually a foul, right? But you do that one time, if it's fake, don't you worry. Don't you worry. Next one gonna be real. That's what somebody needs to do. Because let me tell you, ain't nothing meaner you can do to somebody on a basketball court than catch them under a cheek.
Ooh, make your teeth clap.
No, let me tell you something. One time, I went to grad school with my man D Nunn, and D Nunn is super duper competitive at everything. Dude, it's not that tall. I am not that sort of person, and I'm rather tall. So we out here playing basketball, and I just don't care that much. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to play basketball. I want to play hard. I don't really care that much, but I got tired of something. And I just recall, it's the only time in my life I've ever done something like this. I gave him that up fake. He went up, and I intentionally brought my shoulder up under his chin. Going straight to the goal. I don't remember anything else. I just remember I was like, all right, I guess that's what we gonna do.
That rule, like, there's some rules that they put out that are kind of crazy and you want to go away. The one that comes to my mind is like when an NFL tried to regulate the N-word on the field. You remember that that fiasco? Yes. But this particular fringe rule, bring it back. I want it don't even have to be in the game. Post-game text. Just do something about it, because it just, I don't know. And then when we have reviews on top of it, it's like, you flopped. You slowed down the game, like when Jalen Brunson was dragging it was Asar Thompson's hand into his face. And then they called the foul, and Asar Thompson rightfully is like, no, review that shit. He grabbing me. Then they have to review it, and then they reward the dude who doing the fuckery. It just slow the game down and makes it annoying.
Don't get me started on the review part, but I'm wondering this, right? Is this in part a result of dudes not playing as much basketball on concrete as they used to, right? And so here's what I'm saying on that. We all know the world to call your own fouls. I think somebody could actually do an academic study on some of the equilibria that take place in calling your own fouls, right? Because part of giving people foul calls is the expectation that you will receive your foul call. And so you wind up getting to a place like it is dictated, like when they call it both ways.
Yeah.
The players kind of dictate that, and it sort of makes it what it is, right? The other part of it is you don't really want to be out there looking like a sucker, okay? Now, there are guys like Magic Johnson, for example, where you just have to let him live, where legendarily, no game with Magic would ever end because all he does is call fouls, right? Like, and call fouls and not respect foul calls. That was all he did. But everything else, if you had to be around some people with a different ethic about this foul stuff, then maybe they wouldn't bring this with them onto the basketball court, right?
I mean, yeah, you do learn the ethics of sports at a young age, I think. And you having the expectation that we are not only responsible for how well our team plays, but responsible for how well this game goes is something that I think is instilled. And we grew up playing basketball at the local elementary school basketball court outside all damn summer long. And you develop relationships, and it's like, yeah, you get the foul, you argue them sometimes, it's fine. It's all part of the game. And sometimes you give them a foul. Sometimes they call their own fouls. But you understand, like, all right, come on. And then you just keep it moving. I wonder how an NBA game, I mean, they do it all off season, right? They play games without refs. I wonder how if they had one NBA game where you don't where you have to call your own foul.
I want it so bad. I want it so bad. I want to see. I have been advocating for call your own fouls for so long. Like, there was a time in tennis, I know in college, I think it may have been the case in the pros, but they used to call their own in and out. The game has such an ethic. Yeah. Right. And the expectation of honesty that you called your own stuff. I have wanted to see call your own fouls so bad, because what's going to come in part with call your own fouls is that sort of grievous, hard foul in return. And I want to see who is the guy with the audacity to be like, well, we're going to go to the screen and see if that was a flagrant one.
And like, there's the outdoor call your own foul era of basketball that apparently is dead now for high level basketball players or for future high level basketball players. Like, there was also an understanding that you was going to play through some shit.
Yeah.
Like, there was no such thing as a non-shooting foul. It's like calling
that is the realest talk. There is no such thing as a non-shooting foul.
Yeah. If you get somebody while you trying to drive, so? Like, ain't nobody ever called a block charge. Like, those are play-on situations. Can you imagine being out there calling somebody for a reach? Like, what you reaching for? No, that's a foul. Check it up top. Let's count these up.
No. When the reaching gets to go too far, you can pick it up and be like ball up top. That is the one non-shooting foul. But I had not thought about that until you said it. There is a range of fouls. Ain't no over the back. Yeah. Right?
That is not it. Yeah, you can't. You just understood you're not supposed to do that. And if you happen to jump over somebody's back and get the rebound, it's your rebound. You're not supposed to push people. Like, we just understand it. To your point about the reaching, is that you're right. If somebody reaches and like knock the ball and you stumble or something, you just like hop up, ball up top. But I also feel like reaching is one of those, like, you regulate that with other behaviors.
Yes.
It's like, oh, you gonna reach like that? All right, you gonna catch this shoulder. And then we go get the slapping on the other end too. And then that kind of measures, like, it sorts itself out.
Oh man, call your own fouls weekend.
Did you play pickup football like when you were growing up?
Yeah, various forms. Yeah,
because I mean, I got you. Various forms. You just throw it up.
There was Kill the Man with the Ball, which has a far less socially acceptable name in other places. I came to find out as an adult. And it's interesting because I grew up in Texas.
Yeah,
I didn't know that y'all was down bad as y'all was in these other places. But yeah, we played. Yeah, but again, from Texas, yes, I played some pickup football.
Now that we're talking about this, is pass interference was another thing that just was never called. Like, we didn't call pass interference, we didn't call illegal contact. It's like, go get that thing, and I'm going to try not to cheat. If I happen to bump you, it's inadvertent, play on. I like this.
Then after a point, you'd be like, come on, man, damn. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, man, you ain't supposed to be doing that.
That's absolutely it. Come on, man, damn. Well, and then the person look at you, give you a little nod, like, yeah. All right.
Well, the other thing about call your own fouls is like different places, and I don't just mean places in terms of neighborhoods, though some of it is neighborhoods, also different places in terms of country of ancestry, have an effect on what level of foul is going to be called at a given point in time in the games. And yes, I am talking about Mexicans. They have just generally different attitude when it comes to physicality in all sports than our Anglo-Saxon influences in our society tend to have. And you out there hooping with some Mexicans, I don't even think they got a word for foul. And I will note, by the way, when I was in Barcelona, which is not in Mexico, and I know that the Spaniards and the Mexicans are not the same. I think I told you about this. But like the reefer setup was, they got like reefer clubs, right? You got to go get a club, you get a membership. They got all these tricks. Like the weed costs points, and each point is equal to €1, but points are not euros, therefore they're not selling it, but you buy points, right? Okay. Like they do all this stuff. Anyway, right outside was a basketball court, and I looked at who was playing, and it was a bunch of Africans, and maybe those guys were from Spain. But it sure looked like Mexicans to me, and it definitely looked like they were playing according to Mexican rules. I don't know anything about playing basketball according to African rules, but I just don't think in Spanish. And if they could have been Spaniards, could have been very dark Spaniards, right? But I just don't think they got a word for foul in that whole language. It ain't come up not one time in my Spanish lessons.
That is I guess that's, again, your Texas upbringing, because, like, I don't ever remember playing basketball. Like, my neighborhood was all black people, and there was like one white person who couldn't afford to move out when we all moved in, and he was cool. And that was essentially it. Like, we didn't have, like, there were Hispanic people in our school, not a lot of them, but they didn't come and hoop. Like, we would laugh at them because they played soccer. That was back before we respected that.
Well, this is the other thing that in my experience of hooping with Mexicans was in Texas, at least. If you were going to be hooping with our Mexican brothers, you were joining their game, right? Which comes with some risks. If you do not know who the people are, if you have not established anything in that world over there. But what I don't recommend you go over there doing is calling no soft fouls.
I mean, it tends to be the case. Anytime you go anywhere and you knew, just shut up, man. Don't call no fouls. I think the style of ball that you're talking about is also considered jailhouse rules. And
well, yeah.
Well, no, I was telling her, I'm not equating anything for them. I'm telling you a story about my own experience. It's like, I thought I was tough. I was a good football player, and I played basketball in a similar fashion. Like, I'm not calling no fouls, and whatever. My uncle got home, and me and my brother, who with my uncle, he stunk at basketball. But boy, that man was insulted if we even looked at him for doing something wrong. And he was so hacky. He just hacking everything. He couldn't shoot, just fouling. And we was like, come on. What you talking about?
Quit hacking. Yeah. Quit hacking.
He would hit you. What you talking about? Man, check it up. Check it up. The game took forever because he couldn't score, but we couldn't either.
No, there's nothing like hooping with Harry Hackmaster. And it is very interesting how the term hack, that is slang that made it everywhere. Yeah. When somebody says hack, they mean the exact same thing, no matter the location. I don't know if white people talk about hacking in that way, but when you talk about somebody hacking, a word that you don't really use otherwise, right? Only time you really use hacking is with some dude who plays defense with his hands.
And it's perfect. It's a perfect word. It's like maybe you will see it in a book about a long time ago when people had to hack down trees. He was hacking away. Like that's the only other time. I'm trying to imagine a situation, but if someone just said he was hacking, you automatically conjure basketball in your mind. That's it.
Yes.
Like, oh, that's a foul.
And not only and you know exactly how he way too close to you, right? Like the only way that you can play defense in that level, you ain't got the foot speed for this. The only way you can play defense this close is if you hack. That's all you can do. And then when you call it, they're like, all right, then. Yeah, all right, cool. Cool. He said it was a foul.
I mean, that is, the more we talk about it, the more I realize how, like, truly ethical it is to be able to play basketball in those scenarios because you don't shoot free throws. So like there really is no incentive not to foul someone who's taking a shot. It's like, I'm going to try to block this. There's a 10% chance I'm successful or I'll foul him. He going to call it every time?
Right. Now, foul calls are there in large part for the same reason there are foul calls in organized basketball, which is to decrease the potential of fisticuffs.
Yeah.
If we have some law, some order, some means of justice, then people will not feel the need to take the law into their own hands.
But sometimes you got to. Yeah, I'm sure you've been at the court before when it escalated to the point where it had to happen.
Brother, let me tell you something. I was in the West Village maybe a year or two ago, West 4th Street by the courts. Because, you know, the court at the West, like, I think it's something, if you're a concept of New York is only current in New York, you can't think of. But like the legendary Cage, the West 4th Street courts are right there in the West Village. It just don't seem like it no more because the people who used to live there don't live there anymore. So anyway, I forget why I was down there, but I'm down there one afternoon and I'm walking past the court and these two dudes, they get into it on the court. It was a game with some level of organization. Like there were jerseys. They weren't like stitched on jerseys, but there were jerseys, right? And something happened and them two dudes was on the court and they had been banging and they looked at each other and they just looked at each other and then they walked out the door, like the cage door, right? They just walked out. They went on the sidewalk. They squared up and they started fighting, right? And so there's a man there who's in some position of authority who sees them fighting, right? And then looks over and sees me and is like, oh shit, Bomani Jones. And so he walks over and he starts talking to me. And he's like, oh, man, they just got to, something to the effect of, they just got to work that out right fast. And then he just starts talking to me and it's like, oh, man, I know you lived in the city, right? Like, we just having the conversation and the fight is happening. There's no real refereeing. They just go on about it. Then at some point, they stopped and the basketball resumed. But what I will always remember is their decision to fight. They didn't even have to talk about it.
It's nonverbal, yeah.
They were just like, okay, somewhere along the way, it had been determined mutually, this has gone on too far for me, and it's gone on too far for you. But not in such a way that they felt the need to fight right away. No. They were able to take it outside.
Nonverbal communication also. And they took it outside while they were already outside. Like,
yes.
If you were just walking past and you see two dudes fighting on the street, you're like, this is a breakdown in society. No, it's the opposite. This is the highest level of societal function where people are like, no, we are not going to do this here and mess this up for everyone. Understand that we have differences that need to be settled and cannot be settled right here. Let's step over here as to not interfere with any of them. Let's handle our business. Okay, we good. Business complete. Let's go back into and continue what we were doing. Like that, I understand we don't want to fight, but that's half-ass beautiful, man.
I will say this. I think that generally speaking, if you see two people fighting on the street, you are correct. It is a breakdown of society. But if I see two dudes fighting in the street and both of them have on jerseys and they are the opposite jerseys, I know exactly what is going on here. And I'm not worried at all. Okay, they'll work this out. They'll take care of this amongst themselves.
The level of them taking it off the court and that it was all nonverbal. Like, I'm being serious. It might sound like I'm being dramatic. That's just kind of beautiful to me. That these two dudes looked at each other and was like, all right, let's go take care of this and we'll be back.
Well, there are also two levels of it for me personally that I appreciated. Number one, obviously, that gentleman who probably needed to be attending to that matter more closely was so excited to meet me, number one. But number two, I appreciated the fact that he knew I wasn't going to trip at what I see, right? He didn't look at me like he needed to answer for what was happening. He was like, you know what it is.
I thought he was going to tell you not to talk about it because that's I was at Ja Morant's game in Miami where he, right after he got fined and he started shooting more, or he got warned and then started shooting more. And the first time he brought out his air guns, the people sitting behind me were like, don't talk about this on TV tomorrow. Then he did it again. And I was like, hey, guys, I think he wants me to talk about this on TV tomorrow. And his dad came up to me after the game and gave me a dap. And his son his son hit the game winner. His dad came up and gave me a dap. And I don't think the irony even landed on him because he was hype about the game winner because it was a cold ass game winner. He said, that boy, I raised a killer. I was like, I mean, I get what you're saying. I was thinking it. However, the situation does not call for that distinction, sir.
As I said about Ja Morant 2 years ago, he is in a very interesting place where the criticism of Allen Iverson was that he was a thug, and the actual criticism of Ja Morant is that he is not a thug. Like, if we thought that Ja Morant was a real gangster out here, we would not have the same problems with his behavior because he is engaged in decidedly non-gangster behaviors when this stuff has come up, right? Like fighting teenagers, running up on the kid at Foot Locker. Like, these are anti-gangster behaviors. That is our criticism of him. So, like, you raised the killer. Nah, you raised a basketball player, partner. And look, I'm not saying you should be ashamed of the fact that you did not raise a killer. We just need you to tell your boy to stop acting like some facsimile of one, even if that means pretending to shoot people on a basketball court. Is it a big deal? No. Can your stupid ass do this? Double no.
But I think his father meant it in the way I
know how he meant it.
Yeah.
I know how he meant it, and I'm saying the same way. Nah, player, you didn't. You need to be saying out loud, I did not raise a killer. I raised a fine young man.
It's not the terminology that should be used, but So like behaving like a gangster and being a gangster, and I think what the word gangsters come to mean is a whole bunch of different things. Because when you say behaving like a gangster, that connotes in my mind some level of slickness and sophistication. But also, I think when you say gangster, sometimes people just think of like thug. It's like he's just ruthless. He been through some shit. But like I don't know that Ja Morant falls into either category.
I mean, the allegations of Ja Morant, like. Mm-hmm. I mean, as though he wishes to behave like someone who gets things done through threats and violence. That's what he has tried to give a lot of people. I don't think that's a wise play.
It's not a wise play. I mean, I think we all know it's not a wise play. Well, not all of us, but if it feels like that's the thing about if you feel like that's who you are. Who are we to tell you that you're not? Because I think some people.
That depends on who's we.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Agreed. I'm saying we, as in me and you, two decidedly not gangster individuals who are not getting things done through threats of violence. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know.
Who are we to tell him 3 words? Gay, recognize gay. Like that's now the gangsters have a game don't recognize game. Right. That they could pick up. But I feel like here's who we are, though, who you and I are. Decidedly non-gangster, fine. But what we are, we grown, dog.
Yeah.
And we've been doing this long enough. It's been a while since someone fooled me about whether or not they was a gangster.
I mean, I think probably everybody growing up, you go through different phases and you're trying to figure things out or whatever. And there was when I went to college, I came back and my closest friend had decided to become a gangster. He was no longer pretending, and I was hanging out with him, and I was like, all right, yeah, I'm tough too. No, it took one of them things clapping anywhere near me to be like, what am I doing? You know the speech that we get, and I didn't grow up in the hood. Like I had two parents.
But he became the element, Domonique. He became the element
immediately to me. To me, he did, because I go to college, I come home, see my boys, like, yeah, we cool. I can kick it with you. Oh, yeah, I can go there. I can do anything. And you know that speech that we used to give, we don't give it anymore because the players grow up in this professionalized system and they already have a team around them. But that speech that we used to give to players where it's like, hey, sometimes you got to leave that behind. I didn't have to leave it behind because I was never in it. I was in it for 3 seconds. It's like, nah, bro. Me and him just became cool a couple years ago. Because I mean, he had to do a couple things and mature.
Oh yeah, he did a sabbatical.
Yeah, well, he got off, man. He got off on a technicality. Yeah.
Hold on. When you say he got off, did he have to go do the sabbatical?
No.
Or okay, he didn't get the sabbatical at all.
He didn't have to do the sabbatical, but I mean, it didn't matter to me either way because he was a little too close to the life for me. And then it's like, you know, I don't know, you grow apart or whatever. And so now, since then, he's a normal dude now, got his stuff together, raising a couple of kids. I go give him a dap now.
Good for him. Good for him. Coming up next, maybe we'll talk about some football. Who's to say? This episode is presented by Perplexity. Perplexity is an AI-powered answer engine that searches the internet in real time to deliver fast, clear, high-quality answers. Unlike legacy search engines that respond with a list of links, Perplexity skips straight to the answers you need, explained in everyday language that's easy to understand with sources and citations. Now, Sean, how do you use Perplexity when it comes to the right time?
Bo, if you're a loyal listener or viewer of the show, you're already aware that we use it throughout the show on Mondays, especially when you need a question answered or stats confirmed. But Perplexity is great because, say you're curious about a specific topic from our show, like, what is Luka Doncic's playoff record against the Minnesota Timberwolves? You can see just how quickly Perplexity can get you that answer. And that answer is 4-1 after their Western Conference Finals matchup last season.
We'll see how that record stands after round 1. Now discover faster, more reliable search with Perplexity today. Download the app or ask Perplexity anything at perplexity.com. They swoosh, you score. When any player scores 50 or more points during a game in the NBA playoffs, DashPass members score a free 3-piece crispy tenders combo from Wingstop. Valid on $20 plus orders from noon to midnight the day after the game with promo code April 15th through June 22nd. Terms apply. To claim the deal, just place a 3-piece crispy tenders combo order from Wingstop in your cart. Make sure your cart has a subtotal of $20 or more and drop in the promo code WINGSTOP50 at checkout. Then place your order and enjoy.
Yeah, who doesn't love free wings? Reminder, use code WINGSTOP50 the day after the game. Sign up for Dash Pass and save more all year round with $0 delivery fees and reduced service fees on eligible orders, plus exclusive perks like this one. Dash Pass is your door to more savings. As a reminder, when any player scores 50 or more points during a game in the 2025 NBA playoff season, Dash Pass members score free 3-piece crispy tenders combo from Wingstop, valid with the use of a promo code from noon to midnight the day after a 50-point game. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply.
All right, we're back on a Foxworth Thursday with Domonique Foxworth. I just was scrolling as we were recording this, and I saw a tweet from Adam Schefter that made me feel so old. And it said, Buffalo Bill Pro Bowl running back James Cook did not report to the start of Bill's voluntary offseason program. Cook is heading into the final year of his rookie contract and would like a new deal. And I was so confused because my old ass was definitely thinking about his brother. I was like, well, like, how dare he not report? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I mean, is he even on a team? Yeah. What is this? And then I was like, oh, it's not Dalvin, it's James. This makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I don't even think Dalvin on the roster. Like, I feel like he was bouncing around from roster to roster.
He got on somebody's squad late last year, didn't he?
Might have been the Ravens, or was that 2 years ago where he jumped on the Ravens for a hot second? But I mean, the running back situation, man, it gets grimmer and grimmer. And I feel you, James. However, this draft is deep with running backs.
Well, I am fascinated, though, that this draft is deep and people are still talking about taking Jeanty in the top 5.
Yeah, I think we have this every year where there is some impact of what's happening in the league has an impact on the way that everyone else thinks. And this is probably the first time in a long time that it's had an impact to provide more of the old school shit that we like. Is like the Eagles beat the dog shit out of everybody, physically up front, and ran the ball. And they also cheated the game in that we think we approach this game as if the only way to have big plays is deep passes. And deep passes are highly likely to fail. So you take a deep shot on 1st and 10, then you're in 2nd and 10, and your drive might already be over. The cool thing about having a player like Saquon who can break tackles and go to the crib, which Jeanty's the same type of player because I think he led college football in broken tackles, is that you can hand him the ball on 1st down and you're either going to end up with a 50-yard touchdown or you're going to end up with 2nd and 6, which is like a cool, I mean, it's the high reward without the high risk, which I think is probably pretty attractive to teams who have good offensive lines. Like the Broncos would be a great place for him to land.
I appreciate the fact that, like, bring back the bowling ball. He's like 5'8", like 215, 220, right? Yeah. I do love that he was just like, hey, man, it's tackle football. Get the guy that's hard to tackle. That's what the game been missing right there. What they call him, a rolling ball of butcher knives. That's what the game needs.
You are absolutely right. That's one of those game plan breakers where it's like we've been looking for him at quarterback, where it's like, all right, our play stinks. Don't matter. He's special. That's the same sort of thing. We ain't got to get sophisticated if the first 2 guys can't bring him down. I mean, and if we block those first 2 guys, we looking at 6. Like as a coach, I can't imagine a better scenario where I ain't got to think. There's like 10 plays a game where I ain't got to think. I got to hand it to him and shit get better. Call a dive on that ass. Yes. We ain't got to do nothing fancy. Get his bowling ball the ball and see what happens.
Yeah, and it's embarrassing too. Like if you got a line that can move some furniture and then you throw this dude back there, whew.
Get ahead of steam, 2nd level. He going up against guys that are not accustomed to that level of physicality. Yeah, it ain't completely fair. And then you add to it that he can catch.
Y'all need to be glad that America's team ain't picking till 28 because we can go get us another one. Have Jahmyr Gibbs and Jeanty at the same time. Boy, my boys would be with them road graders they got up front.
So I've been having this conversation about drafting about the Giants since they already have ends, also drafting Abdul Carter. And my point is like get good football players, find a spot for them. it just hit me where the Lions would be the one team that doesn't need Jeanty. But if he falls to you, what we wing teeing this thing? What we doing?
Yeah,
what we
whatever
doing?
it takes. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. We might not even throw the ball.
I actually feel like, I don't know how many weeks it will work, but if we just popped up on somebody with all misdirection, 3 talented running backs, and a quarterback who could scoot, I think we'd be reading them keys on that ass in a second.
I saw a clip from the 2007 Arkansas LSU game that showed when they was out there. I think they was in the wing T or the single wing, one of those. But it's Darren McFadden taking the snap.
Oh yeah.
The dive is to Peyton Hillis, and the pitch man is Felix Jones. And you'll be shocked to know that Peyton Hillis took it to the house untouched. With that daring proposition of what it is that you are supposed to do. Nah, I personally would love every minute of that scenario.
I mean, I think it will work for at least a number of weeks. And if you had somebody who could actually throw also, like, the problem is I think they would sell out. You have to be, your accuracy has to be so good in the NFL is that you would have to, teams would be comfortable with just playing zero coverage, which might blow that up.
You need to find you some version of Mohamed Sanu, where if he's out there and he gets the ball, this not only can this be like thrown capably, he might be able to hit somebody on an out, right? Like he might be able to throw it with some timing. But you mentioned Abdul Carter at 3, and so I think we're operating with this. Cam Ward's going number 1 to the Titans. I think we have talked less about him as we have ever a quarterback at the top of the draft because the interesting stuff comes later. He look all right. Like, am I being unfair?
No, I mean, I think that it's easy to get excited about Cam Ward because he has some of the explosive athleticism and an explosive arm. And if you look at his history, going from an option offense in high school to a small school to Washington to Miami, that you're like, oh, this guy's on a rocket ship and he hasn't been properly developed or been anywhere long enough to get good development. Like I think, and then he wins the Heisman. I think you could easily wrap your head around. He has a chance to be a top 10 quarterback in the league, which is all anybody really wants. But I mean, also, he turns the ball over a lot. Like, it's impossible to be able to project how all this stuff's going to work, in part because it's hard to know what the player is going to be. But football is so many variables, man. And if one is off, it could kind of ruin your quarterback. So we'll see.
Have you decided where you want Travis Hunter to play?
Yeah, I think I moved around a little bit in my mind.
And by that, I mean position, not city.
I
think the poor dude's going to have to go to Cleveland.
Yeah, I think they need receivers, so he's probably going to end up playing receiver. My original position was I think he should play, receiver because it's so impactful for the game. But I think this is where the way that we talk about running backs comes into play. It's so hard to find a cornerback at that level, I think. And it's relatively easy. If there is a position where you can find talent relatively easily, it is receiver, even though having a top level receiver is more important. I kind of think that the most valuable place to have a player like that would be at corner, I think. You'd have asked me 2 days ago, I'd have said receiver, though.
Yeah, I think corner. And also, if you want to do this, like throw him in there every now and then, I think it's a better proposition to have him as a third down receiver than it is to have him as, the nickelback? Yeah. Or are you going to bring him in on third down and have him lock up a number 1 receiver? You know what I mean? Like I don't, the idea of him playing full time both ways, I just think that's stupid. I hear people bringing it up, but I think that is dumb for everybody involved.
Yeah, I also think it's dumb because you never get to the best version of him. And maybe you could argue that getting a B+ version of him on both sides is more valuable than getting a true A+ on either side. But I think it's lightweight disrespectful. And I know he's a great athlete, to like real great players to suggest that he could part-time it and be great at both. I think he could be good at both, but be great at both while trying to do both full-time, like, just seems incredibly impossible for me. I think you're right about if you're going to major in one, it's the cornerback spot, because I think we underappreciate how important preparation and the mental part of the game is as a defensive back. Whereas receiver, there are some mental parts, but like, we know to play. I know where you need to be and when you need to be there. Cornerback is like, depending on the coverage, but depending on the split, but depending on the release, depending on the down and distance, you have to narrow down what you're going to see, and it changes the technique that you'll play and the decisions that you'll make. You can't just throw a guy out there on third down and be like, hey, all right, go play corner, man coverage. Right. Good luck. And I know that's what it seems like, but it's really not how it works. It's a lot of other things that go into it.
You made a good point about the Giants, I think, with Abdul Carter, perhaps going number 3. And yes, they have ends, but you just get as many of them as you possibly can. And I feel like if there's any franchise that should understand that as a mantra, it's the team that won 2 Super Bowls doing that exact thing. That, like, I try to avoid some of those basic trite sort of maxims. Mm-hmm. However, you can't have too many pass rushers undefeated.
It is undefeated. Some of those things, I think the ones that are worth avoiding are the ones that aren't saying anything at all or can be twisted into saying just about anything, where it's just a cliche that says nothing. But that one, that falls in the category of run the damn ball to me. Where it's like, it's just fundamentally football. It's like some shit that I shouldn't have to say to you. It's like, have you been watching this game? Like, I shouldn't have to tell you, sometimes you got to tote that thing. I took a period and a moment there when I thought the short passing game could replace it, but I came up. I came up from that and was like, who the hell was I trying to impress with that bullshit? Tote that thing if you can.
You out there hanging with Mina and them too much. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit was refreshing. Like it's like every now and then you have like what was your favorite album by an artist. Like I always say this with Prince, where I said for the longest, Silent Time's the best Prince album. Silent Time's the best Prince album. Then I was like, why am I trying to be too cute? It's Purple Rain. There's a reason why this was the smash of Silent Times is incredible. But come on, man, you know what the answer is. It's right there. And that's what it is. People are like, nah, it does all these other things. The short passing, it gives the option. Nah. Except for every now and then, you got to run through a motherfucking face.
That's what this game is kind of about. I mean, it's the reason why these other things were developed was because it was hard to run the ball. And so, like, first you got to try it. And if it don't work, then you got to do some other things. And you still got to check it every now and then. Sometimes you just got to check it every now and then. And I think there's also something to be said of your team's mentality and culture and attitude. That's like the last place of sports that's, I feel like, has been underexplored, is like the psychology of sports in many ways. And I think they're having been on a number of different teams. It feels good to be on a team that hey, we can fight y'all if we have to.
I will just note that the anti-run the ball types skew far more in the direction of people who have not played football. And I say this as a person who hadn't really played no football, right? So I'm not saying this judgmentally, but the people who do, I think there's a value. Sometimes you got to look up and realize, like, hey, the people who do this say you need to do that.
Right.
Just throwing it out there.
And I think so, like, this is also goes back to Moneyball, where there is, like, sometimes the people that do this are wrong about some things. And I think this is probably some deep human nature thing about how we want to think of people as simply either good or bad or heroes and villains. Is like, oh, these guys were right. That means those guys are wrong. No, those guys were wrong about that thing. Right. They're not wrong about everything. That's one thing that I think is important to know, is like, even if they're wrong about most things, there's a chance it could be right. It kind of feels like the way that I think about like religion in many ways. It's like, yeah, some of that stuff is nonsense. Some of that stuff makes some good sense.
Yeah, just hear them out. Hear them out. There's a reason it's stuck. There's a reason it's stuck around so long. Yes, like you're not that much smarter. Lead with questions, okay? Lead with questions, and you might wind up getting the answer.
It's the perfect analogy of like the religion versus science crowd. Is the same thing that kind of happens a little bit in football, where it's like, oh no, but these numbers say that none of that is true. I don't know what's true or false, but something in there has some power. It's been around as long as we have.
Right. Like, I don't know why it is when they play them chords on that organ in that building, it make the hair stand up. I don't have an answer for you on that. I'm not so quick to be totally dismissive. Right. I just can't, just hear like a basketball example for me is I am not as high on Kobe Bryant as a basketball player as his peers and a whole wing of people. And I've got a wealth of statistical evidence on my side. but there's clearly something I'm missing here. Whether it's what I'm missing is the way that they contextualize him, or maybe there's something I'm missing that's broader and bigger about the game. But whatever it is, too many people that I respect say this thing. There's something there, and if I can't get it, it may be about me.
Yep.
But there's something there. And like what I say about like the short passer versus running the ball or all that is just, I just always think the dorks underestimate how hard it is to throw the football, particularly in the month of January.
I think basketball, since we're in the basketball playoffs, obviously we all acknowledge how much different playoff basketball. I think they had the pace numbers about how the fastest pace in the playoffs is like slower than the slowest pace team in all of the league. So like it's very different. And then the amount of game planning and adjustments obviously is very different. The difference in football is not as obvious, but it's still there. It's still there to be able to control the tempo of the game, the pace of the game, and to be able to deal with the elements. Yeah, there's something about preparing the regular season that you aren't ready for when you get to the playoffs.
Gotcha. Now, let me ask you this before we get out of here. With the draft, is there any guy that you've been looking at that like got you catching your eye? Oh, let me ask a different question. Do we have any more pioneering defensive backs? You know what I'm saying?
Nah.
We ain't got no more. We ain't got no Coop D apostrophe Gene.
No, we ain't got no more DeJeans.
No, Coop Dewan. That's what we need to start calling him. Coop Dewan.
I'm hurting a little bit for our man Riley Moss, to be honest with you.
Really?
Because he played man coverage opposite Patrick Surtain all year long, admirably on the outside. Cooper getting all this love. Coop was a slot. So, like, he deserved the love. He was a slot in a zone-heavy team with a ridiculous defensive line. I don't mean this as no disrespect, but if there is someone that should be our champion, it's Riley Moss out there in man coverage all day long.
And they went to college together.
Yep. Now, of course they did.
I mean, there's only one place that's out here breeding these boys. only Iowa. Only Iowa.
Yeah, I'm switching sides. I'm Moss high from here on out.
Okay. I'll hold it down for Coop. We can do this together. There's enough love. There's enough love to go around. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
That's the way to put it. But now, is anybody that you've seen in this draft that just kind of jumps out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I got excited about Shamar Stewart. He's the Texas A&M guy who's tests ridiculously well. And then I watched a game of his and was like, oh, that looks good. And then I watched another game. I was like, oh, it doesn't. And it's just like it's not consistent enough. But I do see him as someone who is worth a shot because he could have the ability. I'm not sure that it happens that much at that position, though. It's the weird thing. I feel like all the like projects at end or pass rush, outside linebacker or edge they don't work out. All the guys who test extremely well but didn't produce in college, I don't remember a whole bunch of them actually turning into something great.
I can think of one Texas A&M grad that fits that description. That would be Myles Garrett.
Yeah, that's
Mario Williams, I think, fell in that category where he beat up.
Wasn't he good, though? He was great.
He put up numbers against bums, but I was there for that one, right? Yeah. And somehow they had 3 first-round picks on the defensive line at State and had the 3rd best defense in the ACC. Like that was now my guy Steve White, God rest his soul. He was a volunteer assistant at South Florida, and they had to play against State in the bowl game one year. And he said he just sat in there with the offensive coaches watching that Mario film, and he said he looked at them and said, "What y'all gonna do with that gorilla?" And just walked out the room laughing. Trayvon Walker in Jacksonville has been a double-digit sack guy.
Yeah, that's fair. All right,
so I think they're Rashawn Gary.
Yeah, he's gotten better. He was like a top recruit in the country, right? He's the number 1 guy, and then never really produced at Michigan. And then he was like a slow starter. He just started to come around last couple years to be an impactful player. So yeah, I mean it's possible.
I agree with you though. Don't you worry, he'll figure it out. Okay.
I don't like that for that position in particular, but generally I don't like a guy who is that big, is that physically imposing. Seems like there's no reason why he not because he's not like uncoordinated. He even has like some good moves, but it just don't result in production. That's a little scary to me, but I think that's one of the guys that I think I'd be excited to see. To be completely honest with you, like this doesn't feel like a super talented draft, which like obviously 5 years from now I could be completely wrong, but even in the top 3 guys after that, it gets kind of scary for the next guys.
Let me tell you this though about Shamar Stewart. If somehow he falls far enough for this, nobody loves the ghost of 5-star pass quite like Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll, like the guy that has all the physical stuff, you are not going to go past Pete Carroll, but so many times.
You know who loves physical stuff more than Pete Carroll?
Howie.
No, not even Howie. I'm staying with the Raiders. Rest in peace, Al Davis.
Al
so
Davis,
there's
yes.
a perfect situation. It's like that would be the most Raiders and the most Pete Carroll pick ever. But you're right, yeah. If Shamar Stewart is still around, I mean, the Ravens won't let him get by. They need an edge. If he's still around towards the end of the draft, if there's any chance that Howie could get his hands on him, I doubt it, but I'm sure he would get him.
And there's also Jalen Milroe, who Al Davis may not take in the first round, but he definitely would have took in the second. And if it didn't work out at quarterback, don't you worry. You'll be back there toting that rock. You'll be back there 7 yards deep with your hands on your knees.
Yeah, Jalen Milroe's an exciting prospect because he might go late. That's the exciting part about it. Don't get him high.
You and I both had to be the people who didn't want to say it out loud, but when he complained about Bill O'Brien asking saying that he was a running back, not a quarterback, I was like, I too have offered similar opinions of your game, sir. I need you to understand that if you think that that's the only person who felt that way, you do a good job of blocking out the noise. Like you let the naysayers know without knowing what the naysayers is talking about.
It goes back to the beginning of the show. They may not be right about everything, but there might be some validity to some of the things that they say.
That is Domonique Foxworth. Check him out on the Domonique Foxworth Show. He will have his post-draft episode Friday morning. My brother, I appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. And for a brief moment, if we could just say one more time, thank you to our man, Sean Yu. This is his last day with us here on The Right Time. Moving on to bigger and better things. At least they better be bigger and better shit. You know what I'm saying? But that's what the plan is. Hey, man. We have loved having you here, man. I know we did most of this on Monday, but I still offer you congratulations, man. We still have to catch a concert every now and then. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And, appreciate this experience and what a great send off on this episode with Foxworth. I think these episodes are clearing away the most fun I've had as a producer. So, much love to both of you guys. And obviously, like you said, Bo, on your tweet, like obviously more, and, hopefully on to bigger and better things in that same vein. So appreciate all the time and thank you to the Right Time audience.
Absolutely, man. And ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this 3 times a week. That was Sean Yu for the last time. Thank you, sir. Hit the voicemail line, 323-596-7767. What is the craziest thing you have heard somebody say on a pickup basketball court? 323-596-7767. Remember, follow The Right Time. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. And we'll talk to you guys in a couple of days. Take it easy.